Okay, are you ready?
I am.
Yo, welcome back. Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo, yo. Yes.
Welcome to CrownCast. What's up, guys? It's good for you to listen to us again.
I'll be honest, I thought you were welcoming me to CrownCast, not the audience.
But I am always welcoming you to CrownCast.
It's
I'm gonna
true,
welcome you
but like
into
I
this
started
space.
to talk. I was like, oh, hey, it's nice to be here.
Oh yeah. It's all of a sudden my show. I'm like, hey.
Yeah,
what's up?
I forget. We're hoping someone listens to this.
I hate that you put us down every episode. I'm like, why do
Dude,
you say that?
well, look, our friend Jay Waffle, it took him, he didn't listen to the last episode until like last night or something.
True. He was like, hey, I stopped listening because you guys were spoiling the movie. I'm like, we were spoiling the last movie.
The
not
movie
the
that came out in
new one."
2017.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, welcome.
Yeah. Frick 'em. This is episode 3. Welcome back. I've got this weird thing that I have to tell you about. I've actually been dying to tell you, but I've been saving it specifically for CrownCast.
Oh, perfect.
Because it's so unusual.
Let's hear it.
I took a cybersecurity class in law
Really?
school.
Okay.
I did.
Wait, it was a cybersecurity law, or like, here's how to defend yourself?
There was a focus on law, but there was a lot of background history because you never know who was entering that class. You know, it was just kind of like, hey, here's kind of the state of the computer, the state of the internet. And then we moved into different aspects of law, you know, more specifically the Wiretap Act and all that stuff. But what it really did was scare the crap out of me. And I just
I'm
wanna
not
say,
surprised.
seriously, if
Would you
are,
say that you tilt towards a conspiracy theorist naturally, or no?
Ooh, I don't know. I tilt depending on the topic and the
conspiracy.
circumstances.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
You know what I mean? Like, because there's... Well, what I'm about to say is not even a conspiracy. Like, if you are active on the internet, you're done. You're not safe. You're
Yeah.
just not safe. I
Yeah.
don't know how else to tell you. So, if anything, let this be a PSA. Really choose your passwords wisely. Do two-step verification, two-step authentication. Like, this stuff is real. I've been hacked a few times in a couple different areas. I'm about to tell you about one of them.
Wait, wasn't I on the... well, anyway, go ahead.
What?
Well, when we were playing Overwatch the other day, you were dealing with that Facebook guy. Is that what you were talking? Is that where you're going with this?
That is where I'm going with this.
Okay. Yeah.
I did tell you this. Yes, I did.
No.
Tell you this.
Tell it. You know, there's other people listening to this, but I didn't get all of it. You were kind of like distractedly dealing with it, so I don't really know how it ended.
Yeah, we were moving payloads. It's all good.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Well, let me tell you about one time my Ubisoft account was hacked by the Russians. I think
All of them together.
I don't really know, because to be honest with you, you could hack someone from a different IP. I don't know. Cybersecurity's crazy, man. Just choose your passwords wisely. Anyway, and one time I signed on to my Ubisoft account to play, what was I playing? Oh, Rainbow Six Siege with my friend Justin. And my username had changed. It was something, I don't even remember what it was before. I think it was just like my typical username, like Trae with X's in between the letters or something.
Yeah.
And then he looked at the player. He was trying to invite me to a game or something like that, and he was like, "Hey, I don't see you." I was like, "What do you mean? It's my typical username." And he was like, "Yeah, but the only person who's online is some guy named Pazling, and I don't even know who that is." And I was like, "What?" And I looked, and in my settings, all my settings have been changed. My username was Pazling, and I was like, "What the heck?" And it was like I was from Ukraine. It was crazy. It was like all these details had changed, and I was like, "What is going on?" So, needless to say,
what's the goal of that? Like, what do they get?
Harassment,
Just like
annoyance. I have no idea what the goal of that would be. There's a goal for the second story I'm going to tell, but that was just a weird situation. I don't really know. I eventually contacted Ubisoft and we rectified the situation.
That guy's in jail somewhere now, thanks to you.
No, we didn't go after somebody. we just fixed my account. And then actually the same thing happened with my EA account. So I think it had something to do with my Yahoo email address, which I've had for a long time. So I changed.
You're just spilling all your accounts.
I know, it was
on
whatever
this podcast
account,
right now.
It was whatever account was attached to that email. So I changed everything. Anyway, but now for the main part of what I'm talking about. The other day, listen to how, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin, because this is such a weird connection to make. So when I was in high school, I was in a male singing group, right? And I love how you guys made fun of me because I said a cappella, and everyone was like, "You were an a cappella group?" Not exactly. we did some a cappella tunes, but mostly, you know, we had instrumentals. Like a bunch of guys in the group played instruments, so we always had a chance to utilize that. But
did you like dress differently, or have like crazy hair, or like, I don't know. I just like so would want to like see you in that environment.
No, I looked the exact same as I did in college, I think. Well,
wow.
minus just general body structure. I mean, like I had short hair, I had dark glasses, I looked the exact same.
Did you have the
Okay, I'm gonna bleep that out because that's not supposed to be public knowledge.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's amazing.
That's so
bleep this
funny.
whole thing out, like we got really.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. The first 4 minutes, just a long censorship bleep. Like, you're not supposed to know any of this.
That'd be actually really funny if you did that.
Given the topic, you know someone's gonna hack the video. Just bleep it out anyway. Be like, no, there's no problem with cybersecurity. Everything's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
Okay.
so the guy who was heading the group at the time that I joined had made a Facebook group page, and this is before anybody. Before Facebook really went super mainstream and nobody knew what they were doing by making pages. There was a page for, like, you know, if you like pickles or something, you know what I mean? Like, no one really thought this was going to blow up and you were going to be the manager of an account and have ads and be able to make money off of this. Like, this was just like, we were just messing around. He made a page for the group. Now, years later, let me think, that must have been like 2011. I don't know. 10 years, a decade later, someone has hacked that account and is now rapidly posting and taking down ads for like a 2007 truck or something at a really cheap price, like a really bargain price. And
like they're trying to sell it.
Yeah, like it doesn't exist, but posts are being rapidly put up and taken down in the same truck, but like in different cities, like all over the place, and people are getting notified of it, and tons and
because he's like direct messaging people, right?
I don't know if he's direct message. Somehow these messages are getting out. That's what I'm saying, dude. I don't even know how he's doing this all at once. Like, I don't even know.
It must have been some program or something.
You would think that would take time. Like, I'm just not smart in this area. Like this, like I don't know how to hack people. Like, I don't know. So, and let me just read to you some of these messages that I'm getting from people. Okay. All over the place, dude. I'm just gonna rapidly go down. These are all the people. And people. That's the craziest part. Is that people see this and they're like, "This must exist. This must be a real offer." I'm like, "How stupid are you?"
Yeah.
Like, do you
like,
really think?
So people were like, "Where can I meet you?"
Dead. No, seriously. Oh my God. Let me just read this.
Wow.
Is this still available? I'm interested in it. Is this still available? Hey, is this still available? Hey, are there any more photos? Hey, where are the photos? Sigue disponible. It's like random people. I don't know. I'm not good at reading foreign languages. Is this still available? The GMC, is it available? Is this available? Hey, is this truck still there? 3,200 with bunch of question marks. What are the issues? Send more pictures. More pics, please. Can I schedule a time to see this? I'm about to reply to that guy only and be like, yes. Can you meet me in an hour?
Yeah, really. Bring the cash.
I got one guy who just sent me tons of exclamation points and question marks. Someone gave me their phone number. It said, give me a call. And I would say the number, but I don't want this guy to be harassed.
Oh,
I am interested.
Gosh.
Hi, I'm interested. Can I have more? Hello, the truck is available. That was a statement. He just said that to me. That's not true. The truck's not available. Is that the real price? Where's the truck located? I have cash in hand. Like, what the heck?
Wow.
How long is the bed? I'm about to just like form a friendship. Yeah, with all these people and be like, I don't know,
Wow.
you wanna
So
meet
how many
tomorrow?
people did the messages go out to?
Now look, I'm a moderator of this page, and that's why I've been getting the notifications. I swear to you, and this has been going on, I think, I was about to just remove myself as the moderator because I was getting so upset, but I wanted to see how long this would go, and I want to see if they would kind of, I wanted to see if it would stop soon or how long it would continue for. Obviously, Facebook ain't doing anything about it, but this has been happening for the past 2 weeks. Every single day,
What?
I get somewhere between 200 and 500 notifications.
What? Like in one go? Like they all pop up at the same time?
Yeah, because
heck?
no, it's not bothering because my phone groups them up in such a way that it's not overcrowding my my widget interface or whatever.
Yeah.
But every single day, it's just like another notification, another couple hundred here, and then sometimes it's just like 20, and then other days it's like I get 300. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Dude.
How can someone have this much cyber power? It's crazy.
That is. Can you just delete the page? It seems. I would not have lasted 2 weeks out of curiosity.
That's such a good idea. However, I was only an editor. And the guy who could delete the page, it's just
Owns
like
the truck.
it's not. The question is, it's just not worth it to contact this guy and be like, "Hey, could you delete the entire page?"
Yeah.
Versus just leaving as an editor. You know what I mean?
He must be getting the notifications too, though. I don't know.
Everyone is, because the night it happened, we got like tons of them, and I saw 2 people leave. They were so frustrated, and I felt that. I was like, oh, I want to leave right now, but I want to see how long this goes for.
Wow.
So I thought that was fascinating.
That is. It's funny how old Facebook pages too, like, try to like continue, like Facebook tries to continually somehow make it relevant or whatever. Like do you remember my fake college band Somber Melody?
Oh no, I forgot all about Somber Melody.
Yeah, Somber Melody. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about Somber Melody.
Okay, you could let me know later in a text.
No. I think Somber Melody's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of goofy though.
Dude, I completely forgot about this.
It's why Mariah fell in love with me, so she says. Actually, that's not true.
So is the
one
lore.
Of the, yeah. So goes the tale. But like that page is still up too, and like I'll get notifications about once every couple weeks of like, you have 3 new views on your page, and like post soon and whatever. It's like nobody's done anything on that page for like 6 years. Well, that can't be right. 4 or 5 years. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird how like
super
pages just kind of exist forever, and maybe that's why they become easy to hack somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, like if they're just left out in the open, and if there's no activity,
anything.
It's not likely that Facebook is going to pay attention to a page like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what even blows my mind more is that these people who are looking for a really good deal on a truck don't think to look into the credibility of the user. Like, do they really think that a high school male singing group whose last post was in like 2011, do they think we're selling a truck? Like, do they think that we're like trying to get rid of this truck that we just have as a group?
Yeah,
like
we're trying to fundraise for our concert. Or whatever.
I know that would be the only thing, but why would we do that? Why would we acquire a truck and then sell a truck? Why don't we just
for $3,200?
Seriously, oh my gosh, people.
How big is the bed?
Really, dude, morons are everywhere. That's another PSA: is change your passwords frequently and watch out for idiots.
Yeah, I've started
using.
Gosh. I had someone tell me to start using like an app that like, you've got one master long password into it, and then it'll generate passwords for you randomly. That's what I've been doing, and it's a little bit more tedious, but like, it's actually been super helpful. And then I don't have to think about what the passwords are, and then like, don't have to try to memorize them or you know, and then I don't have like 10 accounts with the same password and then 20 accounts with a slightly different password or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, anyway, I guess this is the cybersecurity podcast this week.
For a brief moment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Nice.
What's been going on with you?
Not much, man. It's been pretty normal over here. I'm trying to think if there's any funny stories of anything that's been going on here. I didn't really premeditate this. Yeah, I got nothing right now.
That's okay.
I got nothing. It's been like normal life for a little bit. It's been good. I had, this isn't really a story, but had a bunch. I guess this is sort of related to our first topic, Star Wars related. I had there's a couple kids. I'm a youth pastor in Richmond, the Richmond area, and for those of you who don't know me, because we have all these random people from across the country tuning in. But or maybe one day we will. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's why I got hacked.
Yeah, really. You've got a large Ukrainian following. But yeah. We there's probably like 8-ish pretty hardcore Star Wars fans, high school guys in our group, and so I've done like watch parties and whatever. But yesterday morning was they've revitalized the Clone Wars animated series to put on Disney Plus, and they're doing like a final season because it got cut off. The show got cut off before they finished, and so they're doing one final season. And the first episode went up yesterday, and so I couldn't do anything later in the afternoon. We were headed out of town, and so I was like, hey, if you guys want to come over at 6 a.m., I'll like make pancakes and bacon and stuff, and we'll watch the episode. And I was so impressed. Like 6 guys came over at 6 a.m.
Wow.
One of them like had to wake up at like 4:45 in the morning to like get stuff ready for school or whatever. I was like, this is awesome.
That's unbelievable.
So yeah, so Star Wars lives on. Star Wars is not dead. Kids are still tuning in, which is exciting.
Yeah, like we'll always be interested in it, despite what anyone's opinion of the most recent trilogy is. Like, if they're like, "Hey, we're coming out with another movie," I'm gonna go see it. Hey, we're coming out with Fallen Order 2. I'm gonna play that.
You definitely are gonna play it. I hope that's the case. There's like the narrative of like Star Wars as being, people who say Star Wars is dead or dying or they're killing it or whatever. I don't think that's. I think that's maybe an overreaction, but because I would be so sad if like in 20 years, like Star Wars movies only gross like $400 million and, they just die out like Star Trek movies have sort of. That would be a huge bummer, but I don't think that'll happen.
Who knows?
So,
but with that being said, why don't we kind of crash into our first topic here? Actually, better yet, let me give you a roadmap of what I think we'll be kind of attacking today. We're definitely going to talk about Star Wars, just like the last time, except we're not going to spend as much time on it.
We have we have like an obligation to talk about Star Wars in all of our podcasts, I think.
Right, Star Wars and that guy from Pretty Simple Music, the YouTube page. We have to.
Yes, that guy! Oh my gosh, it is tax season.
So he's bringing a lot of business, so I hear.
Oh my gosh! I forgot.
So yes, that we will talk about Rise of Skywalker, the most recent trilogy movie, just for a little bit. We'll move on and talk about some gaming stuff, more particularly Overwatch, and more of a subjective component of what Overwatch has meant to us, rather than objective. Like, here's how to play the game right. Because I don't know, I'm not really interested in talking about strategy today. I just wanted to talk about how it's made us feel and how that's changed things in our lives. And then we'll move on and talk a little bit about music, kind of the role of background music. We'll unpack that a lot. And then we'll pretty much just close off with our typical stuff, what we're listening to, what we recommend people listen to, and then any closing remarks that we may have by the end of everything when it's all said and done. So let's jump into Rise of Skywalker. I've been so excited for this moment ever since the last podcast ended. I just want to ask you, Jake, whether you liked it and why. We don't have to. I don't want to get into a crazy debate about it because
I could go for hours.
True, and I think we could, and maybe
there's a lot to be said, but we don't need to do. We'll do it. We'll keep this brief. I think that's
right. It's still, well, I'd hate to say, it's early enough that people haven't seen it. I'm sure tons of people have seen it, and there's already video essays all over the place.
Yeah, it's coming out on Blu-ray in like a couple weeks, I think. So.
Exactly. So maybe the people who haven't watched it because they're waiting for Blu-ray because they have no hope. Maybe we can give them a little
Star Wars is dead. Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, my thoughts on it. I didn't love it. It's actually the first Star Wars movie since Disney took over that I did not like. I have liked every movie they've put. I love Force Awakens. I love The Last Jedi. I really like Rogue One. I really like Solo. And Rise of Skywalker was the first movie where I was like, oh. No, it just was the first movie where I felt like they really missed. So I mostly didn't like it because my kind of big picture is... So I was pretty stoked for the movie because I really like the new characters they've made. I really like Rey and Kylo Ren, and I've enjoyed this trilogy as a whole. And so I just had built-in excitement for that. I was excited about the Emperor. I thought it was you know what? I don't know how they're going to do this, but I love the Emperor, so let's see where this goes. But ultimately, it fell flat for me because it was a movie that seemed like it. One of the big complaints is, there's been no plan for this trilogy. There's been no plan. They keep changing it around. And I think there's some truth to that, I'm sure. But
that was a big topic in our last podcast, whether or not we thought that was a good idea to leave it free and open storytelling, or whether or not there should have been a plan. So if you haven't heard the second episode, I recommend you go check out our thoughts on that. Yeah,
totally. And it's a fair conversation to have. I think, and now actually we have, there's been this kind of leaked script of Duel of the Fates, which is what apparently was Colin Trevorrow's episode 9 before he got fired. That has kind of added some color to the conversation. But I think they had some sort of plan in place, but I think the reception of The Last Jedi was so negative that they really felt they needed to try to... this sounds like such a basic argument, but I really do feel like they were just trying to please people, and... it really felt like this movie didn't have a lot of soul to it. It was just a movie that was trying to placate people and answer some of the objections people had. People who said Rey was too powerful. Well, you know why? And spoiler alert, you know why it is. It's because she's Palpatine's granddaughter, and all this stuff where it was just it just felt like there was no. It really felt like it just tossed the trilogy aspect of it out. And I think they really, cut their feet out from under them by saying, we're going to end the Skywalker saga. So instead of just trying to make a satisfying conclusion to the last 2 movies, they were like, why don't we try to wrap up the last, 8 movies? And it's okay.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a talking point for them, because they're like, oh man, people don't like the new trilogy because they missed their Skywalker. We got to end this so we could tell people to never look forward to other Skywalker stories.
Yeah, I just don't get why they decided, what the defining thing about the episode number movies is they're the Skywalker saga, and we've got to make sure that it really ties into that. I was like, why can't it just be the 9th movie in a franchise about Star Wars?
Yeah, about the world.
Yeah, why did it have to be a Skywalker specific thing? Sure, there's Skywalkers in the movies, that's great, but so I think they maybe just that was kind of a faulty decision from early on, and then they turned it into a marketing thing. It was come see the end of the Skywalker saga, and so I just think they tried to bite off more than they could chew, and they were also trying to make people happy. And I just wish they had made a movie that really was a sequel to The Last Jedi, because I think you really could have done it. And then maybe people wouldn't have been happy about it now, but in 10 years, now that we're 10 years removed from the prequels, there's a whole bunch of people who love the prequels and are like, you know, which they were super divisive when they came out too.
Right.
So I think you would have had something that lasted longer, and that was like, you know what, like we didn't like those at the time, and they're kind of different, but at least there was like some sort of vision, and like we got this interesting result. So I didn't like it, and also Rey is my favorite Star Wars character ever, and I felt like they made her uninteresting.
I did not know that was a thing that you felt.
Yeah, it's been recent. Like I kind of have come to that conclusion in the last year or so. But I think she's so awesome, and Daisy Ridley is like so good at playing her. So I think she's just an amazing character, and I felt really like I was bummed out that they decided they had to make her related to someone in order for her to be interesting. But whatever, it is what it is. I'm over it. It didn't and I didn't hate it. There were actually lots of parts that I liked, but as a movie, I thought it didn't work for me.
How'd you feel about the most recent movie? I'm over it.
yeah, that's not what you want people to say.
That's weak.
Yeah, so it's, you know what? It's just a movie. Like, it's Star Wars, and I love it, and I want to love everything of it, but that's just not going to happen. So, but yeah. Well, what about you though? I know you took a little bit different of a route than me on it.
I took a little bit different of a route.
That's
very true. So just a little bit of background. Our last podcast, I took a negative view towards The Last Jedi, and you had a positive one towards it.
Oh yeah.
And
it's fair to say that I'm very positive, and you're very negative on it. I think.
Yeah, totally accurate. Which is why we had a fun little switcheroo. Is I tried to find redeeming things about it, and you tried to find things that you could criticize about it. So I'd recommend you go listen to that too if you want more background on this conversation. But I'm afraid to get into a super objective conversation about the movie and what makes a movie and what makes a movie good, thematically, or what's going on screen. I feel that I would be intellectually dishonest if I start trying to defend Rise of Skywalker in those ways, because I'm sitting here and I don't remember a lot from the movie because I only saw it when it came out in theaters that night, and I haven't really thought about it since. It was just a present sense impression type of thing where I watched it and I had a reaction, and then we talked for a little bit, and then I just kind of forgot about it. I will say, and I'm just going to say it, I like Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But I like it for really weird reasons.
Okay.
Which may or may not be valid, depending on how you want to kind of consume the Star Wars media. I love the movie. It's the best comedy I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
I'm joking.
That's not a good start.
I know, it's hilarious. And I have to...
Like, genuinely for the jokes that are in it, or like the whole premise is so outlandish that it's like funny?
No, I meant that this was a movie that was so disconnected from Star Wars world, and I felt that this movie communicated so much in a meta sense that it was so hard to pay attention to what they were doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could not stop thinking about Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. I could not stop thinking about it the entire movie. It wasn't like...
Yeah, it's true.
I wasn't thinking this is Star Wars. I was thinking this is someone's movie, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's... And you could say, well, knowing that, why in the world do you like the movie? It's like, well, I liked it because I hated Last Jedi so much.
Right, and that's the weird thing of it, man. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting.
As someone who loves Last Jedi, like for you, I completely understand why this would have been a huge disappointment to see. I totally get that. But my God, it was so funny to actually have dialogue explaining why Rose wasn't around at all. It was the funniest thing. They were like, Rose, come on. She was like, I can't, I got this thing.
Yes, I gotta stay here.
Like,
why? Because the script says so. Yeah.
Ask Chloe, I busted out laughing at that part because I was like, that was straight up like, yo, she's not gonna be in this movie.
Yeah,
so
and she
funny.
Totally wasn't. Yeah.
But honestly, I have to retreat to what I said last time. I just said as long as they somehow connect dots and kind of make sense of it all, even though it's kind of outlandish, very convenient, very weird, very contrived. Yeah. I kind of followed what was going on, and I was like, okay, this is weird. A lot of MacGuffins, a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun to watch. Like, I couldn't really figure it out. I'm very conflicted on it, but I do like it. I think, and here's, I'm just going to bullet point. This is exactly how I feel about it. Because I thought that Star Wars was destroyed with The Last Jedi. And I'm being hyperbolic, but I was already coming from the standpoint of, oh my God, they fricked up a franchise that I loved. And I'm so confused about what's happening. I don't understand why this is happening. That I was just expecting the same frickery, so to speak. But as long as they had fan service in it, I was ready to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I was expecting the same nonsensical stuff. I just wanted to see more respectful things, if that makes sense. And that's why I like the movie. It's not because I think it's better than The Last Jedi. It's not because I think it's better than Force Awakens or any of the previous movies. I just wanted the same frickery because my soul was already crushed, but with some cool stuff, cool lightsaber fights, yada, yada, yada. So it was more so just like a nice little piece of candy. You're like, this probably isn't healthy for me. I probably shouldn't give this to another person, but,
and you got a whole lot of that. I mean, it was literally like anybody, it was like they had this is what I think of with the movie. It was like they had a big meeting in like a boardroom, and they just invited anyone who didn't like the last two movies, and they just said, okay, there's a box up at the front and we're passing out note cards. Write down a theory that you want to be put in the movie, and we'll see it, and we'll make it happen. Because they're like any theory that anyone had put out online for the last 7 years or whatever was in that movie. It's like, what if Rey was related to Palpatine? And what if Rey and Kylo Ren fell in love? And what if Leia was a Jedi? And what if Luke was her master? And what if it was just like, oh my, it was just and what if there was Palpatine came back and he was, it was just all this stuff, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's like a Reddit thread script. And I'm not the only person to say that, but it was just like, oh my gosh. Well,
the funny thing is that I agree with you, but we still have different opinions on the movie. I almost like it because it was a Reddit thread, because I thought it was so funny.
And there, you know what, there is something so The Last Jedi was like, I really liked it, you really didn't like it. On this movie, I think it's probably fair to say you liked it, not really liked it, but liked it, and I didn't like it, but I didn't really dislike it. I just didn't care for it. It was just a very medium movie, and there was enough stuff in it for you that you were like, okay, that works. And there was enough stuff in it for me that wasn't like, I hate this, but not enough that I tilted me over into liking it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and very poetic for us as a friendship, because if you remember how this whole trilogy has been.
Oh my gosh.
We finally met back in the middle, and we're cool again.
Yeah, we're able to be friends again.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah.
Dude, that is so funny. And I really think what you were just saying about the Reddit thread theories, people were freaking out because we had no guidance. And you would think that, and tell me if you don't subscribe to this opinion, but I think that all of those theories could have been done really well if they had thought about it from the beginning and dropped hints throughout the trilogy that these were things that were going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and this could be a longer conversation. I think they did. Yeah. I think they did have some of that stuff. And I just think they threw it out the window for this movie. I think they were like, it doesn't seem to be working. Let's do something else. I really do think Rey was... and allegedly, Rey was supposed to be nobody. That was what J.J. Abrams had decided. That's what, at least, Daisy Ridley says when she asked J.J. at the beginning of this whole thing, what's Rey's, parentage, where does she come from? He said, she's nobody. And then we got that in The Last Jedi. People hated it. Whether or not J.J. changed his mind or Disney told him to do whatever, we'll never know. But, Like, there's that kind of stuff where it's like, okay, I think there was like conversations at least about this stuff, and like some sort of loose structure, very loose, but then it got tossed out.
Yeah,
So,
but that's the word I hate, loose.
Yeah.
There had to be structure. I don't care if it was, I don't know, good or bad. I mean, they should have just committed. I don't know.
I agree. I mean, I
like,
would have liked a little more like, let's just do it, and if people don't like it, we'll learn our lesson. We'll kind of get back together at the end and figure that out.
Right,
So,
yeah. Well, at least in that way, they could have committed to something, and then, like you said, 10 years later, when we're looking back on these movies, that could have been a thing we praise them for. Is okay, they dropped hints, they did this, they stuck to their guns, they did this, they did that, and now I start to appreciate this movie because I see what they did, and yada yada yada.
Right.
Instead, it's like a live, a living script, so to speak. Like the audience is now influencing it. Metacritic scores are influencing it. Rotten Tomatoes, yada yada yada. Depending on how you feel about the credibility of these companies, they do have a say. There is a economic reaction when people see these scores.
Yeah, oh no, there is, and it's and as there should be. I mean, you shouldn't just, if you're making movies that everyone dislikes, you shouldn't just be like, oh, we're just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah. Anyway, so it's over. We're looking forward to the next Star Wars movies and more Mandalorian this year.
I'll stick to games at this point if the movies are gonna be like this.
Well, Mandalorian though, you've probably dug Mandalorian, or did you?
I did like Mandalorian. I finished it very recently.
Okay.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool that Bill Burr was in it.
That's right. Yeah, he was kind of a weird character.
Yeah. I mean, everyone. It felt like it was very different. TV shows are just so different than movies. They're unbelievably different, and
they are. They really are. And maybe that's something we could talk about in the future too. We should probably move on to the next thing, but in the future, sometime talk about the differences between movies and TV, because they are super different, and yet they're kind of like adapting a lot.
Yeah.
Like movies are becoming more like, people are wanting movies to be more like TV now, and TV to be more like movies, sort of.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like a weird shift, but
yeah, with TV shows you have the ability to. I know we're jumping in this conversation already, but that's okay. We're a living podcast.
Whatever, let's do this, man.
Yeah, save the living, ever changing stuff for things like podcasts. At least we have a structure and we can deviate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Cuckoo. But I did want to ask one more question about Rise of Skywalker, or not the movie itself, but like all the things that have happened since like 2015, new movie and stuff. I just want to say, are there any theories that you just pick one theory? Is there any of them that you were like, man, I really wish this had been the case? Like, I just wish that was it. I can give you some time to think about it, because I'm thinking about one right now that I wish happened.
Go for it.
In my heart, in my soul, in my very fiber of my being, I wished so much, and you probably already know what I'm going to say, I wish that Rey was a Kenobi in some respect.
I would have been okay with that.
I don't know. I thought it would have been far more poetic. I thought it would have been much cooler. I thought it would have made more sense, because she's displaying a lot of Kenobi Force powers. I just thought, without even going too deep on why I wanted it, I wished that was the case. Yeah,
I would have absolutely taken that over what they did, 100%. I guess if on the same thing, it's not even a theory. I just wish she had not been related to anybody. I think that would have been more interesting for the franchise moving forward.
Gotcha. Like they had just stuck with that. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I could subscribe to that too. That wouldn't have bothered me too much, but it would have bothered me for the reasons that I don't like Last Jedi. But had they done it right, I would have been okay with the theory. Yeah.
So I think that would have been. There's probably a handful of others, but that was the one thing that I walked out of Rise of Skywalker most disappointed in. So.
Yeah. So for both of us, it was Rey's identity. We just had some beef with it.
Yeah. Which is, there's probably something to that. But
there's always a special state of mind in which there's an ongoing trilogy or a series and you don't know what's going to happen, and your mind flows with all these things, and then little by little you're either built up or crushed and destroyed. That's so funny. one of those rides that I've had a great time with, like the idea of the mystery, the idea of not knowing things, is Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched the newest season 3.
You gotta.
I know, because... I do. I just don't. Yeah, it's just I haven't been thinking about it.
That'll be a topic for another time for sure.
Okay.
Although I care so much about the mystery in that show that I would just never want to talk about it.
That is one of the strengths of that show, is the mystery and the unfolding. I think it's actually probably the best part of the show, because there's a lot of weird stuff in that show, but of course, that's one of the most interesting things about it.
Yeah. All right. Let us take a quick break, and then we'll move into a different topic.
Boom.
Okay?
Let's do it.
Okay. Alrighty, welcome back. We're going to proceed now and talk about a few things. The first of which is Overwatch, a game that Jake and I play very frequently. I love Overwatch a ton, and I know he does too, but it was actually a little bit of I had to persuade you to kind of get it and get into it with us.
You did, yeah. And it it cost $20 or whatever, so I had to weigh my pennies out.
It was on sale. I think now it's just $20, just regularly, like retail. That might change. That might change when Overwatch 2 comes out, but because that they're kind of meant to meld together. I don't know, super weird. But we both have different backgrounds in gaming. I've been playing video games since I was very young. You not as much. What is your general story?
No, yeah, I mean, I wasn't allowed to have video games growing up. The first thing we got was a Wii when I was like 14 or something, and got some. I mean, we did a lot of Mario Kart. Mario Kart Wii is a great game. We had Mario Party, that was fun. I got Call of Duty World at War on Wii, which is a terrible game for Wii, because you actually have to like point the stick to aim and stuff, so it's infuriating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a gamer, really, is the answer. I mean,
not much, but you do have, I think because you're not so invested in it as I am, that I find your perspective valuable, because you're just a general consumer of that market. Whereas I'm so buried in news and just like the meta of the video game world that I understand things when I see them in a way that you don't, but it's nice to hear you think of something, not having the knowledge that I have, and then going, oh yeah, wait, that's huge to people who don't know what I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm not trying to hype myself up as someone who just who knows all. Sense. But this is just my other hobby. So I know a lot. I purchase a lot. I play a lot. So I'm kind of very familiar with that environment. But when Overwatch came out, it's one of my favorite games ever, I think.
It's awesome.
And I think it's because it forces you to play as a team. Let me just explain for a moment what Overwatch is for anyone who doesn't play it. It is a 6v6 hero shooter in which there are different people that you can play as. Some people are very good at attacking, other people are good at taking a lot of damage, like tanks, and other people, their role is to heal the team when they take damage, and they're very vulnerable, but they're very valuable. And there are different objectives in the game, like capture a point, such as like domination in Call of Duty or something, or move a payload. It's kind of like a tug of war type of thing, where one side's trying to push something to the other side and the other team's trying to stop them, and you can do that any number of ways. Is just contest the point, or you could start killing off the other team. There's no, unless it's elimination or something, you always respawn. So the bad part about dying is you have to run all the way back. There's not really a point thing that you're worried about. So that's the general background. It's just a team-based game, and what I've found is that most of my friends who are individually good don't like it, because they're very good at video games, and I don't want to say they don't know how to work in a team, but it's not like Call of Duty, in which each of you go out and you kind of Rambo style, you're like, let me rack up my points and that'll help my team regardless. Like, if you lose the objective, you lose that match in Overwatch. Like, doesn't matter how many people you kill. If you were off to the side, well, unless you were really good and you really helped your team out, like, you carried them that well.
Yeah.
And the other team was just so bad. I mean, chances are if the other team is even thinking about, you know, protecting each other, then you're not going to do much as a solo Rambo kind of guy. Which is why team play is so important. So I think the reason, Jake, is why I want to talk about Overwatch is because it's not very often that I suggest a game to you and you latch onto it.
Mm-hmm. You've stopped suggesting games to me recently. More recently, I think. Well, I mean, you still do, but like you used to tell me about games all the time, and I think I've kind of revealed that I don't like buy many of the games you recommend. So you are more
you make
judicious
that sound
with
worse
your
than it is.
recommendations.
I think I now have a benchmark though to kind of understand where you're at, because your computer is not a great gaming computer, right?
It's a laptop.
So when I suggested a game and you couldn't run it, I was like, okay, so that's where we're at. So now I only suggest things that I think you can run.
Yeah.
So that's why that number has dwindled down. It's not because I'm like, oh, he doesn't trust me. It's more so I would hate for you to buy something and then for us not to be able to play it.
Right, totally.
But you can run Overwatch just fine.
Yeah,
sure,
usually.
you have your moments, you have your laggy moments, but for the most part, you've had plays of the game, right? So like, you've been playing the game well. I just wanted to ask, why was this one? What about this game spoke to you? Why in the world that when I said, hey, you should get this game, why did you latch onto it, and why do you continue to play with us?
Yeah, I mean, I really only bought it because you recommended it multiple times, and I do trust you, and I was like, whatever, I'll give it a try. It's fun to play, and it was interesting, and this will maybe be the theme of what I'm talking about too. We had just moved, when I bought it, we had just moved. We had just gotten married and moved to Charlottesville, and didn't.
You're talking about you and
Mariah.
You and Mariah.
Yeah, you and me.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, remember when we lived in Charlottesville together? No, yeah, me and Mariah had moved to Charlottesville, but we didn't have a whole bunch of friends. I mean, we knew some people. We would do a couple things, but it wasn't like we didn't have a ton of friends. And Mariah would come home exhausted from her job. She had a really, really hard job in Charlottesville, and so there were lots of evenings where it was just she just needed to like chill out. And I was also unemployed for 3 months, so I was like kind of at home a lot, which if you know me, that's like a nightmare situation. Just me like sitting around by myself. So she would come home some days just like exhausted from work and just need to like sit and kind of zone out and watch TV, and which I would do sometimes too. That's nice, but it was fun for me to be able to play some games. That's when we were playing Fortnite too. That was a free game. That was probably why I bought Overwatch, was because we were playing Fortnite and was playing with you and Jay and Luke and Carlton.
Oh yeah,
Henry and everybody, and I was like, this is fun. Like, you just kind of like sit around and play a game for a couple hours, and they're not here, but it's fun. And then you're like, Overwatch is like a team game. It's great. And so that's why I bought it, because you recommended it, really. But the reason that's really the only game I play, 'cause I spend I think we just started playing again in the last couple weeks, but since the last time I played, there's probably 2 to 3 months between when I last played Overwatch and the time that I kind of most recently picked it back up a few weeks ago, which tells you I don't play a whole ton. But the reason I like playing it is just because it's a team game. I mean, it's literally like I wouldn't hop on to play it myself, I don't think. Like, it's a community. It's a community game, and it's fun, and like you're kind of laughing about the same stuff, and when weird stuff happens in the game, which happens often, or when something like is super frustrating is happening, you kind of share that together, and so it's fun. I think Overwatch is it's like a group hangout game, and and it is like the characters have such different abilities that you have to figure out how to do it well, and you really have to like hone a couple characters in order to be like helpful to the team. So yeah, I've really played it because of the community part of it. Weirdly, even though I'm not in the room with anybody, it's like fun to just kind of hang out and talk and play games. So that's really why I keep coming back to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree about the hanging out thing. I mean, even when I play video games with other people, it's not like I'm looking at you in the eyes when we play video games. I'm watching the screen, right? So it's like you could convince yourself to thinking that people are in the room with you. I mean, that's just a general fact of technology today. And one of my favorite things that you do when we play this game is like you know at this point it's always it's a balancing test of the team's skill and what heroes you actually have picked. And I love when we're at a standstill. It's not that we're losing, but we can't push. You're like, man, like what do we need? Like what do we need right now? Do we need someone to like take the damage? Do we need someone to deal damage? Do we need more healing? Like I don't get it. Why aren't we pushing this point right now? And that's exactly how you're supposed to be thinking about it. So I love that you've kind of adapted that viewpoint. Like you just know it's not because someone sucks or someone's throwing the game. Most often it's not. You just know that there's more afoot here. Like there's more going on, and there's more meta things that you might not know the meta of the game. Like what's the most effective team composition that's happening right now, February 2020, right? It's more so like, man, I just feel that there's something that we're missing and we need to change it. With that being said, what heroes do you most often like to play? Like who do you gravitate towards?
Oh, the heroes I like best are the simplest. So it makes I'm kind of a noob. But yeah, I mean, I love playing Bastion, which is like most people laugh at because he's so simple. But I like playing Bastion. I like playing Lucio. Those are probably my two favorite characters. I don't mind playing Mercy. I kind of like playing Diva, who I know is a favorite of yours. And I've been playing more Moira. I've been playing a lot of healing recently because that's always what you don't have in Overwatch. So yeah, those are probably. I went through a Pharah phase too. I like Pharah, but I'm not super good at playing her always.
Right. And the characters you're citing right now, there's a variety there. Like you've pretty much just picked maybe one or two of those categories, you know, such as damage, tank, and healing, and you said, okay, well, of those categories, I like these people. It's not that you pay particular attention to damage. You're not like, all I want to do is deal damage, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so, I try to have like two characters in each group that I can play should I need to switch around.
That's great. Yeah, and see, that's already a good Overwatch player. Is just someone who's like, I'm gonna do something for the team. You know, I'm gonna take one for the team.
That's right. So yeah, it's fun, man. I love it. It's like a good way to. It's probably the number one way that you and I catch up too, which is nice. Like we can play games and just talk about life, because you know it's hard to keep up with good friends when you're not like living in the same place. So
yeah, definitely,
that's a good part of it.
And I'd say for me, Diva is the character that I played most often. Particularly, the character just made sense to me. I liked being a tank, and I liked having the ability to fly and come back and retreat. I also liked the ability, the kind of second chance she gets when she gets blown out of the mech. She's like little Diva.
That's nice.
And then she can run away and just attack from afar and then get the mech back. You don't necessarily have to be useless after you lose the mech, right? I mean, you kind of are. You're a little squishy. You could die pretty quickly. But I also love Lucio. I love that he's a music lover, and I like the jazz skin where he plays jazz music. Yeah, it's so funny. He's a great character. I'd say my level of Overwatch playing is that I play every character pretty well. I'm not an expert in any character, but I am able to switch at will and to understand my role pretty quickly. Damage wise, I do like playing Ashe. I think her ultimate's very helpful. When the other team doesn't know how to counter it, they're just kind of like, oh crap, Bob's here, you know. So she's fun. I'm thinking about all the people on the roster. Ana was one of my favorite healers as well. She's a sniper that can damage enemies with the sniper, but with the same weapon heal her teammates. I think that's very cool.
Brigitte, you're a Brigitte fan. I'm also a Brigitte fan.
Well,
before they changed her.
Yeah,
she's not that
I haven't really. I don't have enough experience after the change, post patch, so to speak.
She's not that different though. I don't think.
Right.
It's mostly your healing has changed, but anyway.
Yeah. Maybe it's for the better. I just haven't played enough afterwards. I just remember the old version.
Yeah.
Someone that I've gotten into very recently, who I've been sleeping on, is Roadhog.
Yeah.
And
when
I think
it
was a personal anger reason. I hated going up against Roadhog, and I was like, I never want to do that to somebody. And I've totally changed my tune. Like, it is so fun to hook somebody and to heal yourself, and just to, like, you know, you can actually go a little bit Rambo with that guy.
Yeah, totally.
So is there any character that you've had your eye on that you're like, man, I want to learn how to play that person, but I don't want to let the team down right now?
I've always thought it would probably be good for me to learn a sniping character, like Widowmaker or Hanzo. Like, I'm not very good at those characters, and that would probably be another good tool to put in my belt. And I hate getting killed by those characters. And similarly to Roadhog, I get killed by him all the time, and it's so annoying when you just get yanked out of your spot, and you're suddenly halfway across the map. You're like, oh my gosh. So the sniping characters are like that's like a tool I don't really have that I could have, but we'll see.
Do you know? I can't remember when you started playing. When you started playing, what was Mercy's ultimate? Her ultimate skill? Do you remember what it was?
I think it was the same as it is now, where
the Guardian Angel, where she's like flying
where
around.
she just flies around.
Dude,
whatever she says.
Do you know anything about the first ultimate that she had?
No. Was it better?
It was so different. So she had an ultimate that
her ultimate now is not very good, in my opinion.
I understand.
I think it's like barely. It's barely different than what she is normally. I don't know. It's annoying. But keep going.
So I think her ultimate before was Heroes Never Die. She used to scream that out and then activate the ultimate. Oh my gosh!
I think she still does.
Imagine a situation in which you're fighting on the payload, and then the entire team dies except Mercy. Like, everyone's dead and Mercy's running away. Her ultimate was to resurrect everybody in that moment.
That's awesome.
So,
but did everyone have to be dead?
I mean, there was a time frame, right? Like, they couldn't have been respawned back at the point. But, like, if they died and there was enough time, or there was a...
What if only, like, half your team had died? Like, was it important that everyone had died?
It was whoever was dead in the moment. I was just painting one hypothetical scenario.
Okay.
So you could do it if there was, like, one person dead and you really needed that one person. But that kind of be a waste, right?
Yeah. Was it too OP? Is that why they took it away?
I don't know why they took it away, but I've heard whispers that it was really pissing people off because a team would, like, execute, like, a really... Like, imagine the last 10 seconds of a game, and everyone blows their ultimates. They're just like, go, 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 and they're using all their ultimates, and they killed the team. They're like, yes, we got it. We won. And then all of a sudden, the rest of the team's back, and you have no ultimates, and you're just like, what the heck? Like, we had a great play, and now everyone's just back. So
that's fair. I could get
So they have since reduced it to that one skill that she has where she can revive one person, you know?
So she didn't have that revival tool.
No. I actually don't even remember what she had. I don't know if
that's interesting.
It's been too long, but that's what I'm saying. Is when you started playing, that wasn't even a thing. So I almost forget what she used to do. Yeah, Overwatch has changed so much. It has changed so much,
which is kind of cool, and which makes it weird why they're making a sequel. Like, your game has been built around just like changing things as they don't work. And so you're just going to make a sequel? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that works.
Right. From what I understand, Overwatch 2 is not... It is a sequel, but it's not looked at as a sequel. It's just a big expansion with a lot of single-player components. A lot of... Excuse me, not single-player, but more so campaign-esque. Like, there's a story and stuff. Yeah. So...
It'll be interesting to see the reaction. Gamers are like... If you don't do the exact right thing, gamers will, like, come burn your house down.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, bring back the Heroes Never Die ultimate, please.
Yeah. Seriously.
Really, I don't have, and you and I feel like we feel the same way. We're just adapting. We don't really have a particular, we're not like, oh my gosh, screw those guys for getting rid of that skill, you know what I mean? We're just like, oh, I guess this is how the character works now, you know?
Just, get on with it.
Yeah. But that's cool, man. And one of my favorite things about Overwatch is the placement of music in the game. Like when music like starts off around, when it's completely silent, and then when it's getting down to the wire and you're pushing things and you're like, oh my gosh, we're about to win. The majestic music that swells in, like, it's just so expertly placed. I love it.
That's so true. And I don't always notice that that's what's happening, but it always makes me more tense at the end, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's so great. But you know what? That leads us into another topic of conversation that I really wanted to talk about. I am a master of transitions. It's all that experience leading bands and stuff. I'm like, it'd be great if we
did a different song.
If we stayed in the same key.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's switch over right now. Okay. It's nice to hear all your thoughts about Overwatch. I mean, we're chill dudes. We don't get that upset over over gaming decisions. We just love to play the game and hang out with one another.
Totally.
I think the beauty of the game comes in learning, right? Like, that's where true fun begins, is when you learn how to do something better and then you actually execute it and then you win because of it. You know what I mean? So I think that's really fun.
I agree.
Anyway, switching over to music for a little bit. I had asked you, hey, what do you want to talk about on the podcast next time? And I thought you had a great topic. I really wanted to do it as soon as possible because I'd never given it that much thought.
Right.
It was basically, you described it as the role of music in creating vibes, right? Particularly background music. Would you care to unpack that a little bit before we kind of talk more about it?
Yeah, I was just thinking, it was literally, I don't know where this came from because I was just trying to think of something around music. I was thinking it, and I think there's multiple aspects of this conversation that we'll get into, and it's a bigger conversation that we could probably tackle in 30 minutes or however long we spend talking about it. But I was just thinking about how being at social settings, like whether or not it's at a party or you're sitting on the beach or at the pool or someone's over for dinner or whatever, creating, and especially now that we're in like a culture with playlists, like Spotify playlists dominate, like how people think about music. And I was just thinking about like what kind of effect has that had on like our consumption of music, our view of music, because honestly people listen to playlists now, not albums, which is really weird to me. Because I feel like I grew up, and you're probably the same way. Yeah. Like, I viewed music as a part of the album that it came out in. Mm-hmm. So like when my favorite bands put out a new album, that was a big deal. Like by the album, I'd listen through the album, and like you could always remember songs like, oh yeah, that was like track 6 on that album or whatever. And that's how like I conceptualized it, which is kind of important, I think, because that's how the artists designed it. But now it's less like that, and I'm part of this too. I mean, I have different playlists on my Spotify account that I use for different things. Like, if you go to my Spotify account, I've got I had this theory in college that like all music fit into one of 5 levels. So I have like these 5 level podcasts, and like, the first one is like calm music, and then the second one is like chill music with a bit of a beat to it, and then then it's like rock, heavy rock, metal, like as you move up. But I don't know, I think it's interesting. I lament a little bit the way that music, man, I'm spitting off a whole bunch of different stuff, but like I think the way that music is almost valued for its, and a lot of time, the BPM, honestly, to get super specific, like people want songs that are about 100 BPM, and how that just limits a whole lot of the music that you listen to, and just kind of the vibe of the music is what's important rather than like the musicianship, the lyrics, the playing, whatever. Like it's all, a lot of music is just kind of a layer over which to put vocals, or a layer over which to put like some kind of background melody, or I don't know. It's just, so I guess there's a couple things there. One is like people using playlists rather than albums, and the playlists are more about vibes and like creating a something for a social situation maybe, or like for working out or whatever. And then also how people kind of use music for some of its pieces, like like BPM, or like kind of its like whether or not you could sway to it or dance to it, or like, or whatever. So that's kind of where I was thinking. But there's also, all of that also spins off into some of the stuff we were going to talk about too, with background music in a store or a restaurant or whatever. Like I think about it every time I worked in a Chick-fil-A for a summer, and every time I go into Chick-fil-A, they have the worst background music in their stores. It's all,
do they?
Yeah, well, it's all because Chick-fil-A is a Christian company. It's all like worship music, contemporary worship music from the last 20 years, but it's all it's all been re-recorded, but without singing. It's just someone playing the melody on a guitar, and that's it. And they're all in that same genre, and there cannot be more than 50 songs on this playlist, and they are in every Chick-fil-A store, and it's always the same stuff.
I don't know if I've ever noticed that, because I'm so in and out of there so quickly that I don't even spend time to listen to music.
Listen to it next time you're in there. I noticed it because I was there, 5 days a week for a summer.
Of course.
And now every Chick-fil-A I go into, I'm like, oh, it's the exact same playlist. So, but yeah, anyway, there's a lot to kind of dig into there, but yeah, I don't know how you kind of want to approach all of it.
Yeah. That's a great start. Music is the literature of the heart, and I didn't come up with that. Some French poet said that once.
Okay.
There's a guy, Martin Lindstrom, and he wrote a book in 2005 called Brand Sense. And essentially, it was kind of he was a proponent of how sound and scent could be like huge marketing powers. Yeah. And he was like citing things like Crayola crayons and Play-Doh, and he was like, those are very powerful, recognizable smells. And in that same book, I think he mentions music, and he says something about, he says, music makes new memories, evokes the past, and instantaneously can transport you to another place. And while we were kind of reading up on this topic, getting the juices flowing, trying to figure out what to say about it, we were both reading an article from, I think his name is Jake Hooyer. Jake Hooyer's article, Inside the Booming Business of Background Music, and this is from Guardian. It was a 2018 article. So we're not necessarily criticizing the article, rather we're taking his, kind of rolling with the punches. We're looking at the ideas and just accepting them as truth and just going on and talking about them. Maybe any sort of anecdotal references that we could think of. But even further than that, the only reason why background music is a thing, like, there are companies that compile music for people depending on the mood that they wanted. And the two main drivers of this were to basically alter behavior and or to create an atmosphere. Researchers, some of the things that they've found based upon background music is it actually affects how much time we think has passed while waiting in a queue.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that.
Isn't that crazy? Well, I actually have real life stories about this, and I can affirm that. but there are other things like how the attitude of the shoppers, how they are with the staff, and the last one that I kind of call BS on. I'm actually kind of impressed on this, like how bitter or sweet that food tastes. Like music can affect that, and I'm not sure if I completely subscribe to that.
Yeah,
I think that's really interesting. I'd have to do more research on that, but I do absolutely agree in the time component. And let me just give you a quick story. When I was in college at JMU, I took a film scoring class. Essentially, it wasn't called film scoring. Well, it was for many years, and then they changed the name of the class when I got into it. It was like audio post production, some longer name, but it was basically film scoring because that's all we talked about. And one of the classes we were meant to go to the professor's house, and it was kind of a nice thing that he did. He provided dinner and stuff, and it was a great night. We went to his house and we watched 2 versions of the movie 2001 Space Odyssey. The first was with the original score that they had planned for the movie, and the second was the actual release date, or excuse me, the actual release copy of the movie with, you know, the final decision that they had made on what the music was supposed to be. I'm blanking on all the names and the dates and how this exactly rolled out, but all I want you to know about this is that at one point they had hired a composer to compose some very spacey things for the movie. And then this composer had music for every single moment. There was not one spot where there was silence. Music was playing the entire time. The second...
So I haven't actually seen 2001: Space Odyssey. Is it well known for its final score?
Yes, but not because of anything. The final score was just taking other people's music and putting it to the movie. Like,
really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I should know this. But I might even look it up while we're talking about it. But it was.
Are you looking for the name of the composer?
Give me 1 second. Okay, so I figured it out. I just want to make sure that I got this right. I'm just looking at some Google Wikipedia stuff. Essentially, Kubrick, who's the director of the film, Stanley Kubrick, he'd commissioned a composer named Alex North, who had written several other soundtracks. And it was the entire time, it was very spacey, very atonal, like, you know, what's happening right now type of thing. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. You have to go listen to that type of music to kind of understand.
I'm curious, yeah.
It's like Star Wars, but never ending. Like the weird parts of Star Wars, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Not like the fun thematic parts, but the parts that are just like meandering space. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like when the crawl disappears and it's kind of like...
Yes, yeah, but that, like, never ending.
Okay, weird.
So essentially... During post-production, Kubrick, I don't think he told Alex North, the composer, that he did this, but he like abandoned his music entirely. Instead he chose to insert classical music pieces at different points in the show. And he used, you know, Strauss pieces, both Strauss, Johann Strauss, Richard Strauss, used Ligeti pieces, and then some other guys. But what was so crazy is that, you know, the 2001 theme song, the one that's like, da, 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 you know, and like everything's going crazy. That became the theme song for Space Odyssey, even though it was a track before. I think it was one of the Strauss tracks or something like that.
And now people use it like comedically a lot. You know, like to reveal some huge thing in a funny movie or whatever.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's from 2001. Yeah.
Yeah.
Space Odyssey. I think it's called, I don't know if this is the right name, Zarathustra or something like that. Just the one that everybody knows. But yeah. So.
Interesting.
Anyway, all I'm trying to get at is that we had watched this movie with both the Alex North original soundtrack and then with the soundtrack that Kubrick had eventually decided to use. And I experienced one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced in my life. It changed my opinion entirely about when to use music and when to use silence. So we watched first the Alex North version. And I remember watching this going, oh my God, I'm so bored. This is dragging. I was like, like, why did this movie even get popular? I'm so bored to tears. And have you ever seen the movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's less of a, I mean, there's a story there, but we only watched the first 45 minutes to make a point. But the first 45 minutes is a lot of background, a lot of setting up the world, not necessarily through dialogue, but just by like looking at things. Like, visuals, I think the beginning scenes are like monkeys and stuff, like running around. And then there's like a spaceship, and then there's like all these cool future tech stuff going on.
Okay.
But I just remember the 45 minutes feeling like an eternity. And then the second time we watched it, there was tons of silence, and music only in the biggest parts, like the ship reveal, the spaceship reveal, when the big, 2001 theme song hits. And it felt like 5 minutes had passed. It felt like between 5 and 10 minutes. It was so fast, and I was blown away because I was like, oh my gosh, we have to watch 45 minutes of this again. I was so upset. And then but with the silence, everything went so much quicker, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, what? So this article is kind of saying, oh, music can make time pass. It can change your perception of how time has passed. That is unbelievably true. Another example is Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is a show that has had many dubs and many different composers over it. But the one that I think America remembers most is the dub, the Funimation dub with Bruce Falconer's score. Very popular, except music was playing the entire time. And one of the jokes about Dragon Ball Z is that, oh my gosh, it takes 10 episodes for a fight to end, and yada yada yada. Yeah. And it was an anime, and it tried to fill time back in the day, back in the 80s through the early 90s and stuff. Like, that makes sense. Like, they tried to drag the story out as long as possible. Right. But I think music had a part to play in that. I love the Falconer score, but when music is playing every second, these episodes seem longer. I actually they recently redid it, and they called it Dragon Ball Z Kai. And they cut out a bunch of stuff and then went back to a different soundtrack. I don't know if it was the original soundtrack. I haven't watched it fully yet. Or if it was a newly composed soundtrack. I don't remember. It might be the original. But I remember watching an episode in it, and it was so fast-paced. It was pleasurably fast-paced. I was like, oh, wow. Like, this is... I'm engaged, and I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. So I'm blown away at the power this has over our perception.
Yeah, and I think too, of just thinking in terms of movies, like Interstellar.
I've not seen Interstellar. I keep getting recommendations for that. Are you
kidding me? Oh my gosh, dude,
recommendations for that.
Dude, watch it tonight. Have you heard the score at all?
You know what, dude? You've convinced me just by saying the name. I think as soon as we're done here, I'm just going to pop it in and watch it.
Dude, you should. It's a long movie, so it's almost 3 hours long. So be ready. But it is phenomenal. Try to watch it all the way through on like a big screen with the volume up. But it is. I really like the movie. The ending's a little questionable, but the music in it's a Zimmer score, and there are a couple sequences like his music is not very. It's not like a John Williams score. Obviously, I don't know that any of his really are.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah,
but it is a fascinating.
One of the main themes is like meme to high heaven.
Wait, what?
Yeah, one of the Interstellar themes is like memed all over the place. It's always inserted in people who have like.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
I'll send you a video after this.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful score. And it is, and there's a couple scenes. There's one scene in particular. I won't spoil it for you since you're going to be on, but they're on this planet. They're on a certain planet, and some stuff is happening, and the way that the score amplifies the feeling of tension on the planet is amazing. And it's one of those brilliant things, but you don't even notice it until someone points it out to you. You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Like, I was like grabbing the pillow next to me, and the score is part of the reason why. So yeah, anyway, although we're maybe spinning. So funny. I think it's fair to say music totally has an effect on us, so one of the people in that article, what was the name of that group that was like started in the 90s or whatever, and they didn't want people. Oh, gosh, I don't want to pull out the article on my phone right now.
Is it Music Concierge or Mood? Mood
No,
Media?
it was the group that was like lobbying for no like music in stores and stuff.
Pipe Down. Yeah.
Pipe Down. Yep.
That's so funny.
Yeah, they're like.
That's so funny. There's a group that fights background music in public places like hospitals, swimming pools, shops, pubs, libraries, etc. And they're called Pipe Down.
It was such a ridiculous but one of their things that they cite in the article that they're contending is like there's not even any real evidence that music actually affects people, which is like, or at least it affects them in order to make them buy more or whatever. And yeah. I'm sure there's some of that stuff. I'm sure it's like maybe semi-inconclusive or, the margins are really small. But I think that's to say that music doesn't really have an effect on how we act or think or whatever. That's just wild because it totally does. And I think everyone's kind of had that experience where like the music in a place really changes the atmosphere.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that being said, what do you think? I'll ask you.
Oh my gosh, I think music changes everything.
Oh, well, I figure that. But, well, anyway, go ahead with what you were going to say.
No, well, maybe I don't. I need to hear the question.
Well, yeah. I was going to ask, what do you think about kind of one of the things I was talking about was like playlists and people compiling artists' music. So like music not intended or written or composed just to be in the background of a Target or whatever, but people who gather together, they're just on Spotify, taking a bunch of songs that were intended to be on an album and clumping them all into a playlist because of, the BPM or the vibe or whatever. How do you feel about this, especially someone who's like so serious about music and has composed a lot of stuff? How do you feel about how that affects, like, do you think that's fair to the artist, to the music? Does it upset you? Do you not care? Yeah.
Well, it definitely affects live music players for sure. What's so interesting is that the only constant that we have is that we want music to create moods or lack thereof. We want music just to be there, or there is no mood or whatever. The only variable that we've had in this equation is that technology changes, right? Streaming has essentially fricked all this up, so to speak. And you're right, since Spotify was founded, sales are collapsing, not only that, but I imagine that people are less and less likely to hire live bands. Unless hiring a live band is kind of a flex now, isn't it? It's kind of just like look, we got enough money to hire these guys.
Look how fancy this place is. Yeah.
There is something to be said about the human element of live music, but the question is there a live element of picking music? Is there a live element of playlists? Like, are the playlists that you prefer to listen to, are your favorite playlists done by algorithms? Are they done by people, by data, or are they done by someone putting something together? I know that Chloe puts together a lot of playlists from things that she's heard and things that she likes, not necessarily stuff that's recommended to her.
Right.
she'll kind of go out of her way and research some things that she likes and then puts it together. She really cares about the human element of putting together a playlist. And I would argue that some of the people who work at these different companies think that's really important. That's why they continue to exist, is that human taste is really important. So technology is messing things up. It's interesting because it's both, it is a threat, but it's also, it's made things more efficient. You know, the opportunity is that music has become easier to get, right? Like companies can more easily than ever tweak music and put together playlists. They could be faster, it could be more flexible. But the sad part is, the threat is that people, everybody, not just the companies, if they have a Spotify account, they can access all this music, all these libraries. They're not typing in, oh, this band's album. You're so right about that. They're typing in chill hop. They're typing in vaporwave. They're typing in music.
And
for
Spotify has
this.
so many pre-made playlists too, where you can type in chill and 70 playlists pop up that Spotify made.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost what I was talking about a little bit, like some of the guitarists that I follow right now, they don't have albums. They're just like, they're just kind of known on Instagram, and they're kind of like YouTube musicians and stuff. Because that's just kind of where they live. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to make an album. It's also hard to produce an album and stuff. I mean, I'm doing it right now. That's why it's like hard to keep track of sometimes, especially when you're by yourself. And you don't have a studio to back you. You just have like your millions and millions of fans or whatever on your Patreon or whatever. But yeah, so it's now the market has shifted. It's no longer, we don't look towards live musicians or these companies that put together playlists. We don't look towards them anymore as being experts. We don't look toward them as being, you know, boutique, or they've got like this certain flair. They're not the French poet that said music is the literature of the heart, right? Because now with streaming, everyone's an expert, because all they got to do is click on music when I'm taking a dump. You know what I mean? Just all they gotta do is like click on something so specific, like music. Music,
and that exists.
Music when I'm going for a walk with my dog and a car passes and it's one of my neighbors that I knew from like 2 years ago. Yeah, they're so specific. That like, why do you even need someone to tell you, hey, for that type of situation, this is what you need to listen to, is, you know, very uplifting music that has these sonic frequencies in it. It's amazing.
Right. Or thinking about like that person's specific taste in music and personality and everything, and how those work together. You know, like, do you think that the industry is going to change in such a way that, like, you know, LPs, like, you know, albums of like 10 songs or more, do you think that's going to go away as people, like, do you think we're gonna come into, maybe we're already starting this, like a time where it's basically just you put out a different single every 2 months or something, and you hope it gets added to playlists? Okay.
No, I think albums are getting longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%, because of Spotify.
Oh, interesting, because you can just dump more music on there and you don't have to worry about CD.
Well, here's the thing, is that when people, back in the day when you used to create, like, it was a mechanical limitation. Like there was a reason why radio songs back in the day were about 3 minutes or whatever, you know, even less sometimes. It's because that's all they got. So people were used to songs being 3 minutes, and by the time music got digital, the damage was done. So now everyone expects radio songs to have a 3 minute, and if you're longer than that, you better have a radio cut, because they're not going to play you if your song's that long. And you would think that music was actually heading in that direction. It was shorter and shorter tracks. It was singles. It was this. It was that. I barely followed popular music albums because it was never about that. But now what's happening is that albums are getting much, much longer, and artists are also including previous singles on their albums and making them much, much longer, because the name of the game now is, how long can I get somebody to stay on my album? How long can I get someone to stay on my playlist? Because someone will just go to the most recent, I don't know, Billie Eilish album or something,
Right.
or Drake album, and then just start from the beginning. If that album is long, Spotify's gonna know that you've stayed on that album for a long time. Spotify's gonna continue to recommend that artist, especially when they release new things. So the name of the game is now keep the consumer on the same page, right?
Yeah.
So I think music albums are gonna get longer.
That's fascinating. So fewer B-sides. Like all the B-sides make the album now.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, unless there's another huge shift in which albums are, I don't know, cut up or whatever. It's hard to tell where the music industry is going to go. It really is hard to tell.
Yeah. What do you think should be the what do you think should be the rules or the guidelines or the guardrails for people using music for backgrounds that wasn't necessarily intended to be background music?
Well, I guess it really does depend on intent. I mean, because you could be the owner of a restaurant and then be like, oh, I read this study that when higher tempo music was played, people chewed faster at a diner. You know? Yeah.
That'd be so funny if everyone was chewing in beat.
Bites per minute.
Yeah.
Essentially, because if you read that and you believe in that and you're like, okay, I'm going to subscribe to this view, you're going to want to do that because that means money for you. Because if people are chewing faster, they're finishing, this is within a matter of minutes. We're not talking about hours, but people finish faster and then they leave quicker. And then you get more people through the door, right?
Right.
So you might do that and look at your sales as a result and be like, oh, okay, that's great. So if you intend to do that, great. What if your intent is instead to get people to stay there longer, right? Because the more drinks they order, the more revenue you get for the bar. So you hire a live band, and then you're like, oh, okay, people are going to come see these guys, right? And then, tip them and stuff. And even if we give them a cut, we're going to get so much more money because there's a live band here and they have fans of their own. It's not just fans of the restaurant come in. You might have people who have never been to that restaurant who just show up because they like that band.
True. So
it does start with intent. It's what do you want? And then from there, it's the how. It's how do you intend to do it? Have you seen that? Oh my gosh. Have you seen that video of the guy who he's a guitar player and he's with his stand-up bass player. I forget his name. But if you type into YouTube at some point, why do we have live music? It's like one of the first videos. It's like a joke, essentially.
Okay.
And he's setting up, and while he's setting up and sound checking, the manager is just looming over him. And every time he checks how loud it is, she continually comes up to him and says, "Can you please turn it down?" And stresses beyond belief. She's like, "Please, this needs to be like background music. Like, please don't be loud, yada, yada, yada." And it's such a cringy video if you watch it because he zooms in on her face when she's making faces, like when they're not looking, like very nervous face. Like it reminds me of something my mom would do, but not with music.
Yeah.
Because she loves music, she loves live music, but this woman is just so just telling them please, don't be loud, and then the musicians are like, why are we even here? Why not just get a playlist and then just play it at whatever volume you want,
or hire just a keyboardist or just a guitar player or something and have them do, because that's what people are looking for half the time. I noticed this a lot in Charlottesville. There were a couple of Charlottesville restaurants that would have live bands playing, but it was really just a couple of players, and a lot of them were jazz players, and all they really wanted was kind of like waltzy jazz music that was pretty slow, and it was a vibe. I mean, it was it was a fancy restaurant vibe, but it wasn't a lot of the time they didn't want you to be looking at that. They didn't want you to be listening per se. They wanted you to be able to be like, oh, that's so nice, and then go back to your food.
Right. Exactly. And that, I think that might be another guideline, is that the obvious middle ground between, hey, we're going to play music to make people chew faster, you know what I mean? And then, hey, we need to have silence because people are here just to get their groceries. They don't want an atmosphere. I think the middle ground is choosing music, whether it's live or not, just give someone a long-term reward or a long-term benefit rather than like an immediate sense of something, if that makes sense. I know some people subscribe to that view, and they think that only certain companies need to be doing this. The ones that provide some sort of accommodation, like maybe like a flight or something. I don't know, I don't know. There definitely is, especially among younger people, like we want authentic things. Right, we want things to feel real and authentic. Like that's why we play music when we're hanging out with our friends, because we, you know, and then that's why years later we remember these songs and we're like, oh man, I remember I was playing Overwatch with Jake when this, you know, when this came on. Just something crazy like that. And music should just work. I think humans are smart in that when a song comes on, this is something that an algorithm probably can't do, is when you're sitting there and you look and you're in the environment that you're in and a song pops on and you go, what the you know what I mean? like you're like, oh, this shouldn't be playing right now. Like humans have that. I don't think algorithms have that, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe not. I mean, that could change as well. I don't know. Algorithms seem to be able to do all kinds of things we wouldn't have expected them to be able to do, you know,
true,
10 years ago. But I think you have a good point. And I do think there is a limit. I mean, it's interesting. I think some people want more reality, more groundedness, you know. That's why records have come back into popularity and record players and everything. It's because there are some people who really want that tangibleness. But then I think there's also still lots of folks, and maybe it's people are largely a blend of the two, who don't necessarily want tangible. They want to kind of create an environment. Like, I mean, that's what clubs do. They have music that is designed to make you feel like you're at a party, you know, and like order another drink because you're at a bar or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is helpful, but anyway.
You're always helpful. You know, it's really funny. I'm just thinking about one of the things that we read was one of the in the article, the guy was talking to somebody who worked for one of these companies, and one of his main jobs was to calm down a really hectic environment or something like that. And it's so funny. I'm just imagining some people want to play music in department stores, like to calm people down because it can be hectic. I'm just imagining on like a Black Friday scenario where like you hear like Girl from Ipanema, it's like da 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 da, and someone's like, give me the TV. Like people are getting clobbered over the like, oh my
that sounds like a great scene in like a Christmas movie or something.
I totally
or you know, like,
it
or what's that
somewhere.
like when Elf when they're like, you know, he's like tearing apart the store or whatever, you know, Jingle Bells is on in the background or whatever.
yeah and that in oh gosh, what's Jingle All the Way.
Oh, you're in Jay's favorite movie.
yeah, we quote that movie. Put the cookie down. No. We quote that movie all the time, no matter what season it is.
I have yet to see it.
Oh, and then the line that we actually quote from the crazy mall scene where everyone's trying to get the ball or whatever. You know, they're trying to get a Turbo Man doll, so they need a special ball to trade it in for one because there's like one left or something, or there's only a few left, so that they decided to do like a raffle thing to give out the dolls. Okay. Or the action figures, whatever. And then the mailman runs away with like two of them, and then Arnold is like underneath the crowd of people, and he's like, he got two. "Oh, he got the," and that mailman's like running away. Oh my gosh.
Gotta love Arnold being a weirdo.
Yeah, dude, Anakin Skywalker is in that movie.
Really? Wait, the kid or
kid,
Hayden
it's him,
Christensen?
yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
That's a good trick. And apparently that kid said his life was like destroyed by that movie.
Supposedly, I saw a mugshot of him and I was like, oh god.
Yeah, he said he got made fun of for like his entire time as a kid.
You got made fun of for being Anakin Skywalker? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, because people hated that movie when it came. They were like, that movie sucked, and like and he's got some weird lines in it too. You know, you're
True.
like an angel or whatever.
Okay, yeah, true.
Yeah.
So now I see that, but I think if I was that young, I would just kind of be like, hey, that's cool that you were in Star Wars. You know, I don't think I would be thinking about script
I'd
and
hope
writing.
so. Kids can be mean though, man.
Totally. Yeah, without a doubt.
Anyway, now we're getting off topic, but
that's fine. Here's something that's really interesting: are you familiar with the terms diegetic and non-diegetic?
No, explain.
Essentially, it was another thing that I learned in film scoring class. I'll read you some definitions that I pulled earlier. Diegetic sound is a noise which has a source on screen. So they're noises which haven't been edited in, like dialogue between characters or footsteps or something like that. I mean, there's always Foley, like you can add footsteps later on.
Right, sound design.
But the psychological idea is that these are sounds that the characters themselves are hearing, right? They're not like wall-breaking sounds.
Right.
And the other term is non-diegetic, which is a noise that does not have a source on screen. They've been added in after the fact. And these sounds psychologically are not heard by the characters. They're like the soundtrack of a movie, because when you're watching Star Wars, those characters don't hear their themes playing, right? That's non-diegetic. Yeah. So what's really interesting is that I've come across a lot of... I really like when media kind of blurs that line a bit. I think it... And what I mean by that is it allows the music to have a closer relation with the characters rather than just with you. And let me explain by what I mean. I've recently played a video game called Outer Wilds. Now, let me say something about Outer Wilds.
Okay.
This is really important.
Okay.
I think Outer Wilds is an amazing video game. It is one of the top games of 2019. I know it's 2020, but it came out last year, like over the summer.
Sure.
And I've only played it recently. Oh my god, what a fantastic video game! I think everyone should play this video game. It's like, it feels like Zelda, like Breath of the Wild, like exploration wise, but it looks like No Man's Sky, like a space kind of thing, space exploration, spaceship, first person view. It is so incredible. Like, I can't even begin to describe the achievement that this game has, like, achieved. If that makes sense. You know, like I'm sitting here thinking about it. This is kind of impromptu. I only wanted to talk about the music, but I really wanted to put this out there and saying, if you're a video game person, if you're a video gamer, if you like even the culture of it, you need to sit down and spend some time with this game, because the way you learn about things and the way you go through the world and the way that physics in the game works, and it's just amazing. It is so incredible. And here's the weirdest part about the game is that the game starts over every 21 minutes. Isn't that weird? Like
wow. Wait, what do you mean by that?
Like the game starts over every 21 minutes.
Like you go back to the place that you started?
Yeah.
What?
And I'm actually not a fan of permadeath. I really hate that sometimes. I'm not one of those people that's like, I need progression in games. But, I mean, obviously, if you lose your progression, like, that sucks. But in this game handles it in such a way that's really good. But you're in a solar system that keeps exploding every 21 minutes, and like your point of the game, you have the whole point you're there is to figure out why this is happening and whether or not it can even be stopped or not.
So you have to beat the game in 21 minutes or you start over?
Not exactly. It's more so...
That sounds incredibly frustrating to me.
What's weird is that when you go through the game, yeah, it does sound incredibly frustrating, which is why I didn't want to get it. And I'm totally changing my tune after playing the game. It's incredible. Huh. What you have to do is go through... I know we're supposed to be talking about music, and this has suddenly become... I'm not being paid by these people, by the way. I just really love this game. Seriously, it's so great.
I wish we were being paid by these people.
I'd take it for sure. I'll advertise for them. It's such a great video game. Okay. Essentially, you're supposed to just explore the world, and at some point, like, things happen to these planets. I don't even want to spoil it. It's crazy. Like, the planets are on a clock. They do things on a clock, and depending on what time you visit these planets, there are different entrances available and different things and all kinds of stuff. But that's the whole point, is that in case you missed out on something in the first 5 minutes, you're just like, well, let me go explore something else, and come back when I die or something like that. So, anyway, the whole reason I bring up this game is because the soundtrack is also really good. There's a theme for when the world is or the universe is collapsing, and that theme is amazing. But the fun part is that there are other kind of astronaut people in the galaxy with you, and you find them by using a device to look up into the sky and to search for their instrument. And when you find their instrument, they're playing a theme on that instrument that everyone else seems to be playing. There's like a little kind of banjo-like instrument playing something, and then someone's like blowing into their bottles or whatever and creating their own tune, and someone's whistling. And then the theme of the game is all those things combined.
Wow. So it's like a movie. It's like a game built around music.
It's not built around music, but they thought music was such a valuable part of the experience that they have in-game characters playing their part of the theme. You know what I mean? It's like a nice little piece of the puzzle,
Yeah. That sounds pretty like trippy. In like it sounds like a very self-aware video game. But
yeah, I mean, of course the characters don't know that they're in a video game, but the idea is that you as the player are like, oh, that's cool. Like that's the guitar part in the theme song, and he's playing it, by himself. So it's about like the connected universe, how all these guys are connected. It's just like, it's very meta, and I very much appreciate how they did music in this game. Very cool. The same thing happens with Jedi Fallen Order, actually, is that one of the main themes of the game, it might be Seer's theme, the Jedi Master who kind of like looks over you. Cal sits down on the ship, and he plays on this stringed instrument, yet another guitar-like instrument, and he plays that theme. So he's playing the theme that the composers wrote for the game. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, I saw that bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like there are these hybrids in which for just a brief moment, non-diegetic sound becomes diegetic sound for the characters. So they get to experience the same music. And I find that's so interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Another example is, I know you don't watch Dragon Ball, or you haven't watched it all the way through, or seen any of it.
Yeah.
But in the most recent movie, Dragon Ball Super, the Broly movie. Now this is cool as heck, and that's a great movie for like if you just want to watch like a really good fight. Like, oh my gosh, one of the best animated fights I've seen in my life. But there's a song that plays when two of the characters fight, and like the song gets you hyped up, but in the lyrics they scream the characters' names. So it's like so interesting that like these things are melding. Like they're like the music is self-aware of the characters, or the characters are self-aware of the music. It's just phenomenal. And I love, and I think in a world that
love the synergy.
Yeah, in a world that is black and white, like non-diegetic and diegetic, Like, I love when people play with those rules, you know? It's more interesting. It's more memorable for me. Now, I'm not trying to say that everyone should do this. I mean, you should know your limits, but I think all these things that I've cited have done them in very, very convincing, very reasonable ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. And it sounds like it all kind of, both those examples it comes out of a place of reverence for the music.
Yes.
And thinking, this music is so important. Let's kind of mix it. And what would be kind of fun is if we mixed it in with the game in this way, and it was, and we just highlight it differently. But ultimately, they're like, the music is important, and maybe that's where like you have to really think about it. Like if you, and I think that's what ultimately frustrates me. If I ever get the sense that people are only playing music because they think they can get something out of it, I think that's what frustrates me, as opposed to someone who is just genuinely really loves the music itself and thinks that the music is important.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, I think that's why I'm such a fan of it, is because they said, you know what, this isn't background music, or it is, but they said this music is not only supposed to be in the background. It is the essence of our game. We want people to feel this. So,
right, totally.
So they actually take the time. They could have just been like, oh, this is the Outer Wilds theme. Let's play it at the menu screen and then never do it again. Right?
Yeah.
Instead, they were like, no, we want people to remember this. We want people to hear these. I'm like, dude, I'm whistling these themes while I'm walking around, making pancakes, right? Like, like I'm just thinking about this game because these themes are so important.
Yeah, because there's emotional resonance there, and it's totally, I mean, they're saying, well, look, if we're going to use music, it's because we think that it has something to add to this, movie or game, and so we're gonna treat it with as much reverence as we can, and I think that's probably a good place to start whenever you're thinking, how do I use music for this project I'm working on, whatever that might be.
Yeah, seriously. So I know.
Hey, that sounds like a nice little bow on that conversation.
Without a doubt, yeah. Seriously, I think the conclusion here is that, and I don't even know. I think you and we're not even trying to say anything. I just think that when you said this topic, I was like, wow, there's so much there. There's a lot there for people who wonder, like, oh man, I never even think about it when I click on a chill playlist for my friends, like. Right. There's a lot that goes into this, and the industry is very influenced by this, and especially by changing technology. So I think we are just trying to unpack a huge topic. I don't really have a conclusion, except for the many conclusions that we've discussed throughout this segment. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't either, and I don't get super upset by it usually. Like, and even when I hear it in stores, I'm not really upset. Like, look, we're always trying to influence each other using any kind of tactics, and that's not necessarily bad. But I do think it's still an interesting topic to talk about and like be aware of and think about, and it's good to think about why do we value music? Is it because it does something for us, or because we think it's beautiful in its own right? So I think it's just good to talk about. It's fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's ethical manipulation.
Yeah, you can think about it that way, for sure.
That's great. All right, bro, let's take a break, and then we'll talk about some personal music stuff, and then we'll wrap up, okay?
Sounds good, man.
All right. All right, welcome back. Jake, as per usual.
Trae.
We always talk, we always talk about what we've been listening to, and I'm going to ask you the same question as always. What in the world have you been listening to?
Yes. I always feel like I have a bad answer to this, to be honest, because I feel like I get stuck in ruts, or it's just, you just keep listening to the same stuff. But recently I have been listening to some... so Brooke, maybe I mentioned her before, but Brooke Frazier, who is she's one of the best contemporary worship songwriters of the last maybe ever. You know, she's written King of Kings, Lord of Lords. She wrote Lead Me to the Cross. She wrote None But Jesus. She wrote Hosanna. She wrote, like, you know, all these.
Wow.
What a beautiful name. She's amazing. But she also was just a solo musician for a long time. And she has I like all of her albums, to be honest. And she's kind of changed. Her very last album was kind of this, like, a little more techno-y, and it was just different. But she also had an album of B-sides that she put out, which B-side albums are normally like, there's like one good song on here and whatever. But I actually really like her B-side album. I mean, there's a couple songs I don't like, but it's been good. And so there's been I've been really listening to that a lot recently, which is kind of interesting. I have been listening to one of my favorite bands, Welshly Arms. They just put out a single, actually, like 2 weeks ago.
So singles are not dead.
Singles are not dead, yeah. So they just put out a single called Trouble that's really good. I would definitely recommend people go check that out. So I've been listening. And that kind of, like, whenever I liked the song enough that I was like, yeah, like, I need to just, like, got back into listening to them.
That's pretty
and
bold.
Then also,
who sings the mainstream Trouble song? Is that Taylor Swift?
Oh.
Trouble, trouble, trouble.
Yes, that is Taylor Swift. That's funny. Oh wow, that's actually, I had not made that connection. It's way better than that song.
I'm sure I'm sure you would think that. But it's kind of bold. You know, it's always interesting to name a song after an already popular song. You have to wonder what the intention is.
It's true. It's true. But when you hear this song, you're like, of course, you have to call it Trouble. You know, like worship songs, sometimes they name a song after some obscure line in verse 3 or whatever. When, like, the main part of the chorus is, like, Hosanna in the highest or whatever, but they didn't want to name it Hosanna in the highest because there's a bunch of songs already titled that.
Right. Yeah.
But totally. You can never find the song because it's called, like, you know, The Lord Spoke into the Darkness or something. You're like, why? Where did you get that title from?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. But I have also been listening. I went on and I've been out of it maybe the last couple weeks, but I went on, like, a pretty lengthy Billie Eilish run. I actually think she's a solid musician. Like, and I like not all of her music, but I like a lot of her music. And she's doing the song for the newest James Bond movie, and they just put that out last week, I think.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, No Time to Die. And so she wrote the song No Time to Die, and they just put it out last week. I think it's really great.
Very interesting. Okay.
I know. It is an interesting pick, and it's very much her style, but I think she does her style really well, so I think it works out. I hated the Sam Smith song from the last album. I thought that was terrible. And she's hers is in a similar vein to that, but it's just a lot higher quality, I think. But anyway, I like a bunch of her other stuff too. So been listening to her. So anyway, that's what I've been listening to.
Spoiler alert, I'm already going to say that on the next podcast. Like, I'm going to say that that's what I've been listening to because,
really,
because I've seen, now I was aware of Billie Eilish before the most recent album. I wasn't a follower. I just kind of knew about her and had seen some singles, some music videos, and I was like, okay, this is, pretty eye-catching. Like, I can understand why the populace is talking about this. But never really subscribed. I was just like, okay, I know she exists. She's got that dark kind of tone. Got it. Fine. Very different from regular pop music. I see how this got popular, But recently, I've seen so many people talk about this girl and have said that when we fall asleep, where do we go? Like that album, that it's in their top albums of 2019 or whatever. Oh, wow. And I'm like, I've seen so many people say that I'm like, okay, now I have to check this out because
it's worth listening to.
Yeah, exactly. So I am going to be I don't feel comfortable talking about it now, but I will be more well versed because I just added that to my most recent playlist just so I could start investigating and, you know, because I'm aware of the style. I just haven't been listening to songs, so to speak.
Yeah, it's good. You do it, man. I don't think it's a perfect album or anything, but I think there's a lot of good stuff on it. And I think what at least most people will get out of it is she's a really good singer actually. So she's got great vocals. So anyway, check it out, man.
Yeah, I had thoughts about doing a cover, you know, like but in my CrownCast style, you know, or not CrownCast, Crownsguard Studios style. So I'll have to think about that.
Oh, I would love to hear that. That would be amazing.
Yeah. I will definitely think about it. I don't really know exactly which one. Oh, of course. I have to do the Crown song. You should see me in a crown. I have to do that.
You should see. Oh my gosh,
I
yes.
have to do that because of Crownsguard.
Yes.
All right. Well, you guys already know what video you'll see in 2020.
Yeah, dude. I'd sign me up. I'll be there for that.
Okay, sweet.
Also, you should repost our Sonic video because Sonic just came out.
Gotcha. I was like sitting there like repost it. Like, did it go down? I was like,
no. Yeah. We got pulled down.
Yeah, with copyright. That's ridiculous. The Sonic movie comes out and every video is just suspended.
Yeah, every Sonic video ever comes down.
You know what? That could be another topic, is I heard that Sonic is a fantastic video game movie.
I have been hearing it's actually pretty good. I've been hearing stunned. It's fine to it's pretty good. So
yeah.
Yeah, we could totally talk about it. I wasn't going to go see it, but maybe I will.
Yeah. That makes me laugh because I was like, please don't get to see Birds of Prey, and you went and saw it. And
I'm going to go see Birds. I haven't seen Birds of Prey yet. I still want to, though.
Lame.
Yeah.
Wasn't a fan. We'll talk about that later. Let me talk briefly what I've been listening to.
Okay.
I recently acquired a mandolin.
Yes,
I have been listening to Chris Thile, because he's just the dude. he's the mandolin dude you want to listen to. Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, he has played, I believe, with Fearless Flyers a couple times, but I've been listening to his solo stuff, just to get acquainted with the mandolin. And that's really it. I'm not, I don't think I could recommend something right now, but recently, because I don't know names of tunes, I've just been putting him on and then listening to the mandolin and getting a feel for it.
Is he like folksy? Is that kind of his?
Yeah. I mean, his earlier stuff, was more country. He's also in a group called, oh shoot, it's killing me. I don't remember the punch something, punch out.
Okay.
Give me a second. Oh, excuse me, Punch Brothers. Yeah.
Okay.
And Punch Brothers is this. It's kind of bluegrass-esque, but more poppy, more modern, like a modern bluegrass, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, give it a listen to. But he plays mandolin. I don't know if he's a singer. I have to figure that out. But he plays mandolin in that group. Mandolin's very interesting. Tuned in fifths, not tuned in fourths.
Yes, we've been talking about that.
That's going to mess me up a little bit. I don't know if I want to tune my mandolin in fourths or if I would much rather just suck it up and just learn it the way that it is.
Yeah.
And,
probably the right thing to do, but it's so hard to invert your brain.
It certainly is, yeah. But, I'm not going to be playing it full time. I'm just doing it for fun. So it's not a huge deal. So I might just keep it in fifths. And then if I want to whip it out for an album or something, then I can. So Chris Thile, someone that I'm listening to, just for if you want like an overture to the mandolin, then check him out. Okay. He's got different classical things on there that he plays. He's got his band Punch Brothers, and then he's got solo albums. So he does a lot of stuff. You're going to get the mandolin in its full swing in a bunch of different genres.
Nice.
And then I've also,
check that out.
I love Devil May Cry, the franchise. Devil May Cry 5 came out last year. I loved it. It was another one of my favorite games of 2019, if not my favorite. It's a tie between that and Fallen Order, and I guess, Outer Wilds now. But I would have to say it's probably Devil May Cry 5 is the winner.
Okay.
But
wow.
fantastic combat game. The music is a highlight because it's just, oh my gosh, it's just rock and industrial rock and some techno thrown in. It's just like screams. It's just awesome.
Cool.
It's definitely demon killing bar fight music, you know.
You know.
So I played the game when it came out on PlayStation, and I've recently got it for PC just for graphic related reasons. So I've been playing it again, and once again the soundtrack just so good. So I've been listening to more often. What's interesting is that every character, you play 3 characters in that game, and they each have their own battle theme.
Oh wow.
And all 3 of them are good. So I just, you know, and the soundtrack is on Apple Music. So in case you're curious, you could just listen to it. I know you probably won't. Maybe you won't get it because you don't play the game, but
maybe. But that stuff can still be super good.
Yeah, it's a mixture of, the soundtrack has seen a lot. Like all the fighting and the main characters' themes are like rock and stuff, but the theme of the setting kind of orchestral, almost Baroque in a way because some of the organs that play and the orchestral stuff that plays. It's a mixture between the two, and they, you know, because it's all about demons, angels, and all kinds of other
bar
stuff.
Fighting.
And, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
I'll have to check. I'll check some of that stuff out. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I need to make a list, and like every time we do this, and like make sure I go listen to all that stuff because that sounds.
Well,
like
the beauty is that you can always just scroll to the end of our podcast. Like,
oh,
go back
what?
and listen.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, did you cut out?
I thought you were gonna say something, so I was like,
Did you cut out?
No one cut out. We just stopped and looked at the screen like idiots.
It's okay. That was really weird.
It was hilarious though because it was just like complete silence. Okay. That's so great. Well, dude, I really appreciate you coming on today and talking about all these things.
Of course, man.
And I appreciate the research you did in advance too, just to have some stuff that we have, you know, that we can grasp onto whenever we start blanking and be like, oh, someone said this, what do you think about this? So you know, I appreciate this, the view you bring to all the things we've talked about, such as, you know, Overwatch, background music, and even, you know, the highly contestable Star Wars. I almost forgot we talked about that. I almost forgot that was the first thing we talked about.
It's because we're so at peace with it now.
That's true. That is a way to look at it.
Yeah.
So any closing remarks that you have for everybody?
No, but thanks for having me on again, as always, and like thanks for all the time you put into it. Trae literally spent like 30 minutes just trying to figure out audio before we did this, so
I would love to sneak in some of those takes of me just going into my microphone just to see, or just anything that we talk about. I'm sure I have plenty, the B-sides, so to speak, of things of us talking and really funny stories. So maybe one day, maybe I'll have some CrownCast outtakes and it won't be an episode, but that would be a lot of listening, a lot of scanning through, trying to find things. But,
yeah, a lot of nonsense.
True, a lot of nonsense, but that's life.
Yes, it is. But yeah, no other closing remarks, man. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you all for joining in with us today. We look forward to talking about all the things that we hinted at in this podcast, and hopefully we have many more to come. And we will also have some guests pop on in the next few. I don't know if it'll be the very next one, but we will have some people come on. I've been talking about it with some of my friends who are very well versed in music, gaming, and other things that we'd like to have come on. Just to have different perspectives. So I'm really excited about that. So thanks again for chiming in, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right.